1 minute. Good evening. It's 6 o'clock on November 15th, 2022, and I call to order the board meeting scheduled for today. I want to take the opportunity to welcome you all, and anyone who has already collected and filled out a card, we have that here, and I will call on you at the appropriate time. Would you please stand with me, if you're able, and salute the flag under the direction of Northport's High School NJ ROTC, under the direction of Lieutenant Commander D. Barnes, who is the U.S. Navy retired. Our student representative will lead us in this pledge, and that is Gabriella Gregory from Pineview School. Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for being with us this evening, Gabriella. It is so nice to have you join us as our student representative. Before you tell us a little bit about yourself, I understand butterflies may be flying in your stomach because you're going to Europe this weekend with the Boys and Girls Club. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Of course. As part of the Boys and Girls Club's cultural immersion program, I have the unique opportunity of traveling to London, Budapest, and Paris this weekend with some of my closest friends. This trip is the result of countless hours of fundraising, collaboration, and teamwork, and words cannot express how grateful I am for the Boys and Girls Club.
I spoke with your principal yesterday, and he was just thrilled that you were going to be with us today, and he said what a wonderful and amazing young student you were. So can you give us a little information on what you're doing now and what your plans are?
Of course. I am a senior at Pineview School, where I am president of our school's National Chinese Honor Society and vice president of our school's Health Occupation Students of America Club. Outside of Pineview, I'm a leader at our local Boys and Girls Club, serving as president of their youth council and officer of many other of their programs. In college, I plan to study applied mathematics and the Chinese language.
Sounds great. Please tell us a little bit about the character strong trait for November and how it has affected you.
Personally, selflessness applies to me through my work with the county and especially at the Boys and Girls Club. Youth at the club are encouraged to be engaged in their communities through planning awareness and fundraising events, and my mentors there are the epitome of selflessness, dedicating their lives towards bettering those of youth. So a big thank you to everyone at the club. And as selflessness applies to my school, Pineview staff are also extremely selfless in that they truly wish to see every single one of their students succeed. With our abundance of resources, our students are always more than happy to work collaboratively and help each other in times of need. In fact, just a couple weeks ago, after Hurricane Irma, many Pineview students came together to help clean up the school, and we actually got the job done in a pretty record time. So with that, I'd say that our students are always more than willing to work hard and really address the needs of our community, which, in my opinion, is both selfless and admirable.
We'd like to thank you for serving as our student representative, and I'd like to present you with a certificate of appreciation. We wish you the very best of luck in the future. Mrs. Brown.
Thank you. Well, thank you for coming here, Gabriella. And you surely do have a broad resume already, very impressive. But I got to hand it to you. They're putting a lot of things. You're talking London, Budapest, and Paris in a weekend.
Yep.
You will want to return to each of those areas for at least a week, each one, and enjoy it while you can, and don't bother sleeping or even breathing. You just want to absorb all of it because they're beautiful cities. There's so much there, and I'm sure there'll be other Boys and Girl Scouts groups there too.
Yes.
Kind of interesting when you go to Europe, in France and Budapest, they won't be Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. You'll see they're just scouting. I think it's the U.S. and England are the only ones that split, and South Africa split boys and girls into different scouting troops. But see if you notice that while you're over there. Thank you.
So this is Mrs. Brown and my last meeting, and we had a nice little private reception before the board meeting started. There is cake there. If after the board meeting anyone wants to take cake home with them or have some, they're certainly welcome to do so. And it was really, really nice to be in among friends. And I want to, at this time, ask Mrs. Brown if she has some comments.
I just want to thank the staff and administration and this school district and the parents and the students too for working together as, working for our students, doing the best that we can, and our community associations that are part of this. It's not any one person that does anything in this district. And I see Caroline Zucker here. I spoke earlier at the reception that we had that Carolyn and I have known each other for several years, but we've been on opposite sides of the fence. When I was running for the legislature, her and her husband were politicking against me for my opponent. And I think even in that 2006 election, but we were sitting together at the Florida School Boards Association dinner, and I turned to her and I said, Karen, I don't know if I said hated or just disliked you, something like that. I said, but we're going to put that aside now and work together on the school board. And now, people talk like we've been lifelong friends and in this cahoots together for all this time. But I think that just shows that we put things to the side because what's important is the school district and what's in the best interest of the students, our staff, and our community. And I'd like to reach out to the new board that will be constituted next week and encourage them to do some of the things that we have done that has helped us. And one of those, of course, is being a member of the Florida School Boards Association. They have a wonderful program for new members that will help you learn the ins and the outs. Us old hats here, Jane and I, will be gone, and, there won't be a lot of historical understanding of what goes on the school board. And for instance, on the November 29th session For new board members, they've got chairmanship academies, so those boards members who are going to be chairmanship will know how to run a meeting, and it's for chairs and vice chairs. And they've got the new board academy, part 1, and they also have critical skill building, answering tough questions with truth and transparency. I think that's what all of our community wants. They want truth and transparency in what we all do here. And I know there was some concern that the FSBA didn't represent the views of some of our board members, but I think they can see now that a lot of the DeSantis-endorsed candidates are now members of school boards across the state, and I think they will go to the Florida School Boards Association and have, friends that they can deal with and that they can work with, because a lot of the work that we do here, we should be doing with what's in the best interest of the students, what's in the best interest of our taxpayers and our communities, and that's where we should be focusing our efforts. And I hope that they will do that. And when the best thing to do if you're not working together as a board or as a superintendent, they've got master board training that helps, teaches you how to get along, because disagreeing isn't wrong. Disagreeing or coming to the table with differing opinions can sometimes help. What you need to do is listen and think with that mindset, what's in the best interest of the students, and work out how you are going to do that. And I hope that our new board will work on that, and we'll work together and always put our students first. We had a wonderful year last year with our test scores. They've increased. We've got a great plan that we've set into place, the strategic plan. I hope you build on that and move forward and work with the superintendent to make our schools even better, because we are on that ladder moving up to be #1 in the state. Thank you.
I, too, have some comments that I'd like to read. I am grateful to live in a community that overwhelmingly supports public education. Since my early days as a volunteer here more than 20 years ago, we have had great support from our community, and I say again, thank you. Our schools are outstanding because our community supports them. I particularly thank the foundations who are always assisting us with new programs and helping us to achieve. Anywhere I go in the state and talk about our programs, the first thing that a person will say to me from another school board is, boy, I wish we had the foundations that you all have. We must reject these lies that attack our teachers, schools, and administration. Please keep a watchful eye over the new board. I wish them well and hope they will adopt a we mentality and work together as a board. We have great teachers who deserve respect and should not be accused of indoctrinating or harming our children. Teachers who are respected for the great job they do are more likely to remain in the profession. Our children need great teachers, as we have experienced in recent years. In Florida, after 20 years of expanding school choice in the name of vouchers and charter schools, parents are continuing to support public education, and many who get a voucher/scholarship to attend a private school return to public schools within 2 to 3 years. This disinformation about public education is used to sow universal distrust. The only remaining question is whether the damage to our schools and communities is reparable, or is it going to destroy public schools in Florida? The financial issue with our school district and the money lost from public school funding of voucher programs grows each year. Our school district budget shows 4% of our overall budget this year is going to private school funding with schools with no rules. This equates to about $17.5 million in this school year. Our administrators and superintendents are doing a great job, and I wish great success to Dr. Asplin and his staff in the coming years. It has been my honor to serve, and I know what I have done and am proud of many achievements. I leave with a grateful heart and many thanks to the many students who have passed through this school system to achieve success in all they do and all their dreams. I want to say how much I appreciate Kathy Tompkins, who has been such a terrific assist in doing a tough job in running the board office. Kathy, thank you. As I close, I leave with you words from a former TV personality that I admire and respect, who really stated my thoughts almost 2 years ago. The truth is that I'm not a liberal or a conservative, I'm an institutionalist. I believe in this place, and in my love of country, I yield to no one. But the darkness on the edge of town has spread to the main roads and highways and neighborhoods. It is now at the local bar, the bowling alley, at the school board, and the grocery store, and it must be acknowledged and answered for. My endearing love and gratitude to Sarasota County Schools, the best school district in the state. Onward. Thank you. And now I turn over this part of the agenda to our superintendent for his report. Dr. Asplin.
Thank you, Ms. Goodwin. Appreciate that. I do want to just say congratulations to you and Ms. Brown on your retirement. I think that's fantastic. And I want to also thank you for the many, many years of service that you have given to our students and our families here in our school district, and the support that you've given to our employees. Thank you very, very much, and we wish you the very best. This week is National Education Week. We celebrate our public education to honor all the individuals in our school district and across the state and the nation. And I want to really thank our teachers, especially for the outstanding job that they have done over the past few years and what they do every single day with our students. Also, our school administrators, our district administrators, our police force, our food service, our custodial staff, transportation staff, our construction maintenance staff, everybody just has done a fantastic job coming together and work and do what's best for our students. So I just want to thank them so much during this National Education Week. Also, we have Thanksgiving break coming up next week. So students are off next week for Thanksgiving break. Our 12-month employees, the 240-day employees, you'll be working next week, as you know. And then lastly, we have a Veterans Day video that we'd like to show. It's a 6-minute video. You know, November 11th was Veterans Day. It was a really, really good day in our school district and in our classrooms. And we just wanted to show this video today, which is highlighting our JROTC program.
Early on, I knew I was going to be a part of the military. I thought about the college route, and it really wasn't for me, so I wanted to get back.
My dad was in the Army. He was drafted in Vietnam, and I knew that I wanted to go give it a shot.
As a young man, I wanted, the adventure, the excitement of serving in the Army, the challenge, and then to serve my country.
After graduating high school, I went to college, came home one night, and the Desert Storm was happening. 2 days later, I went to a recruiting station, and voila, 1991, September 4th is when I joined the military.
I chose the Navy, as the expression goes, to see the world, and that I was able to do.
I felt that I wasn't going anywhere and I didn't know what I really wanted to do in life. I decided to finally move on and try to get a skill set, and that's what really set me off, was to be able to learn something.
I was only supposed to do 4 years, but after seeing how great it was and how much fun I was having, I just continued to sign up. I continued on and went on to do bigger and better things.
Over the course of my 30-year history in the military, I had some wonderful people take me under their wings and advise me when I was doing the wrong things. I was a young knucklehead like most teenagers were, and I had people guide me. And one of the things, one of my mentors made me promise that I would give back. So I wanted the opportunity to mentor and mold people like I was mentored and molded.
JROTC, Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps. I actually am a product of that environment. I graduated from the Riverview JROTC program.
JROTC truly is about citizenship development. It was founded upon the principle of how do you make high school kids better? How do you prepare them for life at the high school?
I think the Young Marine program is an absolutely awesome program where students get to learn teamwork, leadership, and discipline.
And the way that we can do that is through some of the values that we as the military experienced and shared during our multiple years of experience.
JROTC program is one of the only classes you can take in high school where the students are in charge. The students get to lead and have a say in what they do every day.
Ready, right? We first try to get them to be better citizens, increasing their communication skills, their leadership skills, just get them to a place where they can express themselves.
So we want them to be open-minded, have some people skills and some soft skills that maybe they don't learn in some of the other programs.
The Marine Corps JROTC program, or any JROTC program for that matter, we're not recruiting programs. We are a life skills class. All I want to do is make men and women of exemplary character that go out into our community and are an asset to society. That's it, contribute, good people.
Most people think of RTC, those are the kids that wear the uniform. Those are the ones that do push-ups, get yelled at. But when they actually come in and see what we do, it's a game changer. It truly changed lives.
We do a lot of great things there. We got the rifle team, we got the drill team, we got the Raider team, we got the JRTC Leadership Academic Bowl. So it's a lot of extracurricular activities that we do that a lot of kids love.
Students that participate in JROTC, and especially if they stay in JROTC, have less discipline problems. They're more likely to graduate, more likely to be successful after high school.
I think it builds character, gives a lot of kids structure that they didn't have, and it just motivates them to be better citizens.
I hope that I am setting the right example for the young kids, and trying to give them the best advice I can give them and share my experiences.
It's a good feeling, especially when you see students start their freshman year and you watch them grow and develop and then graduate high school and go on to be successful in whatever they choose to do.
This job is really a calling. You do it because of the reward, and that's when the students call you a couple years later and say thank you for what you've done for us. I didn't realize it then, but I get it now, and thank you.
Growing up, I began to appreciate that the veterans who were still alive were the ones who really needed to be recognized.
I think people tend to forget about the men and women who actually wore the cloth of our nation, the uniform, and actually served. We need to constantly remind ourselves of the sacrifice that people before us made.
When I see somebody with a hat on, I literally go up to them and say thank you, for your service and paving the way for what you've done for me and my family and every other veteran that came after you.
I think it's the time to really focus on those that need the attention, and that's Veterans Day to me.
That was great.
These names are flashing up now are all the veterans who actually work for our school system.
Mrs. Brown.
Well, thank you for bringing that to us. I didn't realize we had so many staff members that were veterans also, and I think it's great that we recognize them. A parent's job is to raise their children so that they can go out into the community and be successful. And that's sort of what our job is, too, as a school district. I think you can see it's not just teaching those kids ABCs, it's teaching them how to be good citizens and how to be thankful for those who went before them. And so I think this very much exemplifies what it is we do for students. It's not just the ABCs, it's teaching them to be good citizens and making sure that they are successful when they leave our school. And thank you for bringing that to our attention.
All right, that concludes our superintendent's report.
Thank you. And next up, we have the hearing of citizens. I have 2 cards to speak on agenda items. First up, we have Melissa Bacandi, followed by Debbie Ezel.
Thank you. Agenda item 39, approval of lease schedule. Don't you love how this school board is less than transparent and has to change the wording of this agenda item so you won't know what it is? In exchange for money, they want to put cell phone towers on school property. They conveniently leave out how much money they will be getting in return. Parents beware, Dr. Asplin, Jane Goodwin, Shirley Brown, and Tom Edwards want to put a cell phone tower on school property, which could radiate your children and may cause brain cancer. Do we really have to put these towers on school property? How much are they paying you? Dr. Asplin, would you want a cell phone tower next to your luxurious waterfront condo? Number 8, personnel report. It's been reported that a cafeteria worker from Laurel Nokomis School was caught on video participating in lewd and obscene sexual acts in a public park during the Venice Pride Festival. This person needs immediately investigated as she is a possible threat to children at the school. Again, another reminder, parents, as to why we need to walk our children into the classroom daily. Also, I'm calling for an investigation into the Pineview principal. He sits on the board of CAN.
This is not an agenda item, Mrs. Bacandi.
It's personal.
It is not an agenda item. Thank you.
They should be.
Thank you. That is good. You can bring this up at your next general statement at the end of the meeting. Debbie Ezel. Thank you, Mrs. Bacandi. It's not part of the agenda. Thank you. Debbie, proceed. Thank you. You can bring this up at the end.
Good evening. My name is Debbie Ezel, and I am a parent in Sarasota County. My husband and I have 4 children, and we literally have had a child in the district for 24 straight years. So we have experience with multiple superintendents, board members, teachers, staff. In fact, Ms. Rose was principal when my son was there years ago. But I'm talking on the agenda item of the public notice. That was the one COVID policy that I absolutely agreed with, that the public be allowed to speak, to email in their public comments. Because there are times when people are sick and they can't attend these meetings, or such as people like myself with a special needs child who needs to be medicated or possibly changed that can't attend these meetings. You have people that can't afford the gasoline nowadays to get here, and people have jobs and they're working. So I encourage you, I know that I wrote this a few months ago, and Dr. Asplin, you actually commented that I made some very good points. So therefore, I do ask that you revisit this and allow us to submit our public comments via emails instead of physically showing up, because it is not equitable and it's discriminatory in a lot of ways. You're not allowing everybody in the community to have their say-so during these meeting times. You're picking and choosing the same people over and over again that can show up. I don't have the luxury of somebody watching my child that I trust. So I am, again, imploring you to do that. Those that, don't own vehicles or can't afford to get here, people who are overwhelmed with the hurricane, that might have something important to say, but they're not allowed to report it because you're refusing to take emails. And by the looks of your,
Thank you.
and nobody has any.
Thank you.
Cannot record me or repost this
Thank you.
without my permission.
That ends the hearing of citizens for agenda items, if we can say that it was agenda items, but at any rate, the next up, we have our approval of the consent agenda. Dr. Asplin, do we have any revisions to this agenda?
Yes, ma'am. An addendum was added to item number 8, the instructional classified personnel report, and also the contract was added to item number 16, approval of updated lease agreement between the Circus Arts Conservatory Incorporated and the Sarasota County School Board.
Thank you. We're going to have a motion on this, but I will say that we have both Tom Edwards and Bridget Ziegler are not here tonight due to illness, and I think they are on a Zoom call. Is that correct? Bridget, Tom, can you hear me?
Yep, and I have my computer open. I can vote online.
You can vote online? How about you, Tom? Mr. Edwards?
I cannot vote online.
Okay, then we will vote by voice. I will call on all of you to vote one at a time. So may I have a motion, please?
I move to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
Second.
Without any discussion, please vote verbally. Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mrs. Ziegler?
Yes.
Mrs. Rose?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
And I vote yes. The motion carries unanimously. Next up, we have new business, starting with item number 40. May I have a motion, please?
Are we going to have staff explain it? It's 39 on mine.
39 on mine as well.
I'm sorry. It's item number 39. I skipped that page. Are we going to have someone, Mrs. Penner, are you coming forward? And others? So would you like to give us an explanation before we make a motion, please?
Item number 39 on my agenda is...
I can't hear you.
It's on. It's on now, I think.
Is that better?
Yes, it's
Okay.
good. Yes.
So item number 39 is approval of the First Amendment to the lease schedule for our 2010A issued master lease program agreement. So this is a previous COPS issue, the lease agreement, and what we're doing in this particular amendment is just recognizing that we have already approved the cell phone tower leases. So therefore, we need to recognize that in the ground lease for the other COPS issue. So it's similar to if you have, well, because that property is now encumbered and is available to the cell phone tower company. Sorry, and if for some reason we defaulted on the COPS, that would not be available to then pay for those COPS that are already outstanding. So it's just recognizing that that piece of land is encumbered.
Do we have any questions?
Are you referencing the land at Booker High School?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
I move that the School Board of Sarasota County, Florida, approve the First Amendment to the lease schedule 210A.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's vote verbally. Mrs. Rose?
No.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mrs. Ziegler?
No.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
And I vote yes. The motion carries 3-2 with a dissent from Mrs. Ziegler and Mrs. Rose. Next up is item number 40. May we have some discussion of that, please, Mrs. Penner?
So item number 40 is the approval of the certificate of resolution and related financing documents for the Certificates of Participation Series 2022A. And this is the first debt issue in our building program for this particular fiscal year. So it's been discussed quite a bit with our construction program. And this is the financing that we need in order to build the K-8 at Clark and Lorraine, and also the improvements and new buildings at Goshio Elementary. So this authorizes us to issue up to $135 million in COPS debt in order to fund those two projects.
Okay. May I have a motion?
I move that the School Board of Sarasota County approve the certificate resolution and related financing documents as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none?
Madam, I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
Bridget?
Yeah, I apologize. I can't raise my hand. Sorry about that. Thank you very much. I wanted to just ask a quick question. I know when we had the presentation last time, it indicated, and unless I'm misunderstanding, that any kind of bond that we are taking out, any kind of financing, we weren't able to identify specifically what that money would go to. It would be basically, I understand we're building a very large school and more down the road, which is why we need to consider taking out additional financing. But it's my understanding that identifying specific projects is not, we can't pick and choose is that correct? I mean, I remember them mentioning that it would be for any kind of amount of money we brought in would not be only to pay for specific projects, but would have to be utilized for any projects that we're using. Is that correct?
I'm bringing our bond counsel up to help explain that. Why don't you come over here? I don't know that one's on.
To me, really, it's just a nuance. I mean, that money is going into our capital fund, essentially, and then what we use that for is, any areas. I just thought that we weren't able to specifically identify specific projects versus it going to be paying for potentially multiple things.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Ms. Ziegler. This is for Tesh Patel, Neighbors Giblin and Nickerson, the district's bond counsel. So for this particular issue, as Ms. Penner stated, this 22A series COPS are going to be used to fund two specific projects, the K-8 at Clark and Lorraine, and also the improvements to Goshio Elementary School. What you're referring to is that after these bonds are issued, and you have also existing COPS out there, the 2010A and the 2016A, which were improvements to Berker High School, I think Venice High School, you can't, at a certain point in time going forward, you can't pick and choose and say, we don't like Venice High School anymore, we're not going to pay for that debt. You have to pay for all of your debt or none of your debt. So the projects are specific to a debt issuance, but overall, you do not get to pick and choose that you don't like a project in the future and not pay debt service for the associated debt on that. You either have to pay all your debt or none of your debt.
Mrs. Brown?
Okay.
Oh, were you finished?
On that topic, and then I'll just come back after Mrs. Brown's done.
Mrs. Brown?
I just want to speak in favor of this. I think many of us who build a home or buy a home have a mortgage on it, and it sort of replaces their rent that they're paying. They're making their mortgage payments. And this says that we're going to be building this new elementary school because I think we're growing by 1,000 students a year now. I mean, we're growing, and we need these students.
It's a K-8.
This is a K-8 school, and it's also going to help us with the renovation and the classroom addition at Goshio School. So I think that it's prudent for us to build it now and get the use of it now while we are needing this. I think we've got Ashton School, and not Ashton, Ashton's the one that's overcrowded, and we need to, no, it is not Ashton. Is it? It's Ashton up there on.
It's one of them.
I am leaving at just the right time, as my mind goes to, and I think we can all get a laugh out of that. But I think it's important that we pay for these needs, but yet let the community pay for it over time for those who are using it. And we saw the last time in 2010 when we put out these leads, we ended up paying a lot less for those schools because the prices are increasing very much. So I think it's important to go ahead and build these schools now. Well, the need is there.
Well, I also want to speak in favor of this. I'm for it. I personally know that we need another school in the K-8. It makes perfect sense for students because the less change a student has in their life of moving and changing schools, the better off that student is. So going kindergarten through 8 is much better than changing schools in middle school, and a lot of instructional models have shown that. And I also think that if you've been to Goshio, there will be a complete restructuring of how the school is laid out. We have a lot of portables there. We have a very, very productive pre-K program that we started 5 years ago with some philanthropic support, and those students will be moved into this new building along with their mates in kindergarten next to them, and there will be a whole restructuring of where things are laid out in school. And I've spent a good bit of time at Goshio, and it will be a very welcomed addition. It will alleviate some of the problems that they have with low areas and floods and so forth as well. So these two programs are necessary. The K-8 will alleviate some of that crowding that Mrs. Brown talked about at Ashton, at Laurel Nokomis, and we do have a bottleneck of middle and elementary schools in the middle of the county that really are overtaxed now. And if you look at where building and construction is happening, a lot of it's happening in the middle part of the county and south. So I am in support of that. Mrs. Ziegler, do you have any additional questions?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to highlight something. We haven't, as a board, had to look at taking on additional debt for some time. I think I want to say it's over 10 years. And I understand we certainly, as we are responding to the growth, we've known we needed to build schools for some time, and have looked at different options as far as how we would be paying for that. But the one piece I want to say, so I am going to support this today because I certainly know we need to build these schools. However, I don't take it lightly that we are taking on an additional $135 million of additional financing, whereas other municipalities or counties oftentimes have to go to voters through a referendum. I know we discussed that at our workshop, that we as school districts have a little bit more narrow as to what we can utilize capital expenditures for, capital dollars for, which is where oftentimes you see school districts do certificates of participation. However, something I want to do, hopefully we don't have to take out more money in the future, but something I will be looking forward to and potentially discussing in the future with the board is creating a policy that in the event we ever take out or issue more, take out financing in excess of $50 million, that it go through a public hearing moment, that just to ensure that the community is aware of that. Again, since we don't put it out on a referendum, but I do think it's our fiduciary responsibility to make it as apparent and known and give the opportunity for the public to speak. But I am going to support this. I understand interest rates are rising, and the delay would worry me that we would be kicking the can down the road and have to deal with an potential increased rate, causing us to pay more. But for the future, I do think that there's a way we can do this to ensure that the public has a clear understanding of what we're doing and an opportunity to weigh in. So that was my statement. Thank you so much.
Mr. Edwards, do you have any questions?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, could we please have a motion?
I think we had a motion in a second.
Did we have a motion? I don't think we had a motion yet, did we? We had a motion? Okay.
I thought I did.
All right, I'm sorry. At any rate, hearing no other discussion Let's vote, please. Mrs. Rose,
Yes.
Mr. Edwards,
Yes.
Mrs. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mrs. Brown,
Yes.
and I vote yes. It carries unanimously. At this point in the meeting, we're going to convene are going to recess our regular board meeting and bring the Finance Corporation for the School Board of Sarasota County to convene to approve two items. The first amendment to lease schedule number 2010A and the certification resolution, will proceed to item number 41, the first amendment to lease schedule number 2010A. Do we have any discussion? May I have a motion, please?
I move the First Amendment to lease schedule number 2010A, make amendment to and restate Section 10 of the ground lease agreement dated August 1, 2010, to allow for the cell tower lease to encumber the subleased premises.
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's good.
That was the description. The recommendation is that the Financing Corporation for the School Board of Sarasota County approve the First Amendment to the lease in Schedule 2010A.
Second. Now, any discussion? I'm going to call on Mrs. Ziegler.
No discussion. I'm sorry. Were you calling for a vote or?
No, I'm just calling because I can't see if you've got your hand up. Mr. Edwards, do you have any discussion?
No.
Anyone else? Hearing none, let's vote. Mrs. Brown,
Yes.
Mrs. Ziegler,
No.
Mrs. Rose,
No.
Mr. Edwards,
Yes.
and I vote yes. The motion carries 3-2 with Mrs. Ziegler and Mrs. Rose dissenting. Moving on to the next item under Finance Corporation, item number 42.
I move that the Financing Corporation for the School Board of Sarasota County approve the certificate resolution and the related financing documents as presented.
Second. And may we?
Yeah, I'm sorry to interject here.
Yes,
This
please.
is Ritesh Patel again.
Yes.
I just think the agenda item got mislabeled. It should be approval of the corporate resolution, not you already as a school board approved the certificate resolution. This is the corporation's resolution. The correct item is attached to the
Yes.
agenda. The title is just, so the motion should be for the approval of the corporate resolution rather than the certificate resolution.
Thank you. I'll restate
Please
the motion that the Financing Corporation for the School Board of Sarasota County, Florida, approve the corporate resolution and the relating financing document as presented.
Second. Let the record show that Mrs. Ziegler seconded that. Any discussion, Mrs. Ziegler? Our sick Mr. Edwards.
No discussion.
Anyone else? Hearing none, please vote. Mrs. Rose?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mrs. Ziegler?
Yes.
And I vote yes, that carries unanimously. At this time, the Financing Corporation for the School Board of Sarasota County will adjourn, and we will reconvene our regular board meeting. That is the end of new business. We have announcements and communications. Does anyone have a special announcement to make? Mrs. Ziegler?
Excuse me. I just wanted to say congratulations to Mrs. Brown and Mrs. Goodwin. I know it's been many years that we've worked together and respectfully know that we haven't always agreed on everything, but I truly appreciate the time and commitment that you put forward to this community and this school district. And I wish you both a wonderful retirement and exciting things to come for both of you in your next chapter.
Thank you. Mr. Edwards?
I too would like to congratulate Mrs. Goodwin and Mrs. Brown on their retirement. It's been an honor to serve next to you on this school board and a privilege to learn from both of you on what's appropriate and not at a school board meeting. So I appreciate what you've done. You've left the school district as an A-rated school district, and we're going to do our best to maintain that.
We hope that you both are feeling better soon. Our next work session is scheduled for Tuesday, December the 13th at a to-be-determined time, followed by the school board meeting at 6 p.m. The swearing in and reorganization of the board will take place on the 22nd of November. At what time? I don't know.
2 o'clock, I believe.
At 2 o'clock at Venice Performing Arts Center. Mrs. Brown, you have a comment?
I do. I wanted to thank Ms. Ziegler and Mr. Edwards for their comments and let them know that now, well, after the 21st, and when I am no longer a school board member, you will be free to call me for advice if you want. And Tom, we can even go out to dinner once in a while. Tom wouldn't even talk to me over a cup of coffee while we were both school board members for fear that somebody might think we were colluding on something. But I am available for advice if you need it, or historical context or whatever. And you both have my personal cell phone number, and feel free to call it, as to you two, Karen and Robin back there. And I know the same goes to Tim and to our superintendent too. I still will care about this district and do what I can to make sure that it goes on, and hopefully we'll be running smooth, because I really do hope that things run along smoothly after we're gone. I know things, the legislature didn't fall apart when I left, and I know the school board won't either.
I misspoke. The swearing in and reorganization of the new board is on November 22nd, which is a Tuesday, at 1 p.m., not 2 p.m.
Another announcement.
Yes.
Very short. The school districts, the schools across the district, and even the technical college are celebrating Thanksgiving this Thursday. So those parents who want to spend time with their kids on their campuses are welcome. Call the schools, let them know that you're coming so they can make sure that there's enough. Or if you don't have any kids in school and you'd like to see how our schools serve the lunches, the technical college chefs are making up a very wonderful dinner for on Thursday. And I think it's from 11 to 2 or 3, something like that. Well, you can go online and find out when that is. So the technical college, either here at Proctor and Beneva or the one down in Northport, will be serving an early Thanksgiving dinner for all of you if you would like to join it. I know at schools it's probably about $5. I'm not sure what it is at the technical college, but come out and support our schools and have the time with your students for a nice celebration.
Well, I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. It's next week. I don't know how it happened that it's next week, but I thought about that today. But I want to wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving, and I hope everyone has a great time away and a wonderful time with your family, because it's really important that. This is a year when we're back to normal more than ever before. I want to thank our wonderful police officers who've served so brilliantly with us and do such great work, and I appreciate all of their help with board meetings. I want to thank our crew in the back room who make sure that this video is online and that we are live and active through our television station, and I want to thank all of you for being here. We'll adjourn now and then go on with general comments. We are adjourned. I'll begin by calling the first person on general comments, and it's Melissa Bacondi.
Free John Wilson. I'm here to talk about the retribution of a vocal concerned parent, John Wilson, and how he ended up in jail. In November 2020, John Wilson video recorded in a public area within Brookside Middle School. The area had an open door with no expectation of privacy. What was on this video? A school employee confronted about pro-BLM posters hanging in the school. This school employee reported John to the school board police, videotaping without permission in 2020, but they sat on it. No notice of any sort was given to John Wilson. In the spring of 2021, the school police state that they tried to contact John at his house multiple times but couldn't reach him. Now, John attends almost every school board meeting in person. Are you telling me that the school board police was unable to contact him? Not one email, phone call, or text? The incident took place in 2020, and all is quiet until the night of the school board election 2022. August 23rd, 2022, it's almost 2 years after the incident occurs. It appears that this Liberal school board realized they lost the election. They went and got an arrest warrant for John Wilson and had him arrested in his house, waking up his school-age children at 2 o'clock in the morning on a school night. Not only did the school board come arrest their political opponent, they moved the person who made the complaint against John from Brookside to the physical school board address so that John could no longer come to school board meetings in person for fear that he would be arrested. And that is why he's not here tonight. This school board waited 2 years, and then it appears they orchestrated a calculated, premeditated arrest of a parent who was their critic over an invasion of someone's privacy. An arrest at 2 a.m. in the morning, a trip to jail, and $1,500 in bail money. Do we really have to guess who is responsible for John's arrest? The person who is above the police department is Superintendent Asplin, and the people in charge of Dr. Asplin are Jane Goodwin, Shirley Brown, and Tom Edwards. Shirley and Jane have been fired. Mr. Edwards and Dr. Asplin, you are next. The public rejects this treatment of parents, and it will not be tolerated. I call upon our new school board to free John Wilson, and Dr. Asplin, I'm sure we can find someone to list your waterfront condo for free.
No clapping. No clapping, please. Be respectful of a public meeting or we'll clear the gallery. I promise you that.
This man can't be with his family.
Elizabeth Cuervos Nunder, followed by Barbara Vaughn.
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Cuevas Nunder. I was a very active parent 30 years ago. First of all, I want to have a prayer for to save the 3 souls in this board. And I will say, Heavenly Father, creator of heaven and earth, please enlighten Shirley Brown, Mr. Edwards, and also Jane Goodman. You have brought a lot of difficult things in this community. I watched from far away, as many others. And today I am grateful, dear Lord, that you take these 3 people's souls and enlighten them. And I hope they kneel down in their knees and ask for forgiveness for all the difficult times and all the issues that they have brought in, including what happened this weekend in Venice. In the name of Jesus Christ, I ask you, Heavenly Father, bless them and protect them. Amen. I want to come to you because it was serious many years ago. Carolyn Zucker, I helped her to get elected. Did I? Thank you. Did I give you a hard time?
You always give me a hard time.
Of course. Also Nancy Dieter, who will be serving with my son. I have to say thank you to a wonderful principal with my Latina program. And to you, Madam Karen Rose, you are an amazing woman. I love you, you have no idea. But the woman that I truly love deeply is Bridget, because Bridget is me 1,000 times in steroid. And this community has to protect their children at all times. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you. Debbie Zell, followed by Michelle Posey.
My name is Barbara Vaughn, and I'm a citizen of Sarasota County. And I am so pleased that Elizabeth prayed before me. But since you are all so accustomed to me praying for you, let me not miss this opportunity. Father God, we give you thanks and praise for so many good things you've given us, in spite of the fact that we so often turn our backs on you. Forgive us, Lord. We come to you in repentance as well as thanksgiving. We thank you for the people who worked hard and went out and voted and gave us a new school board. Lord, you warned us in the New Testament not to put new wine into old wineskins. We are following your advice, Lord. The old wineskins will be gone, and the new wine will be put into new wineskins. We pray, Lord, that this newly constituted school board will be everything you want them to be for the good of our children and the children's families. We thank you, Jesus, and we pray in your name. Amen.
Debbie Ezell.
I just want to reach out about what I was talking about earlier and the disinterest that I saw with everybody on the board. I'm really hoping and praying that come next week when we swear in our new school board and we have new people sitting there, that they actually care about what the parents say and will listen to us. Because the apathy and the disinterest with which you didn't even listen to what I had to say. And I know I've sent emails multiple times before multiple meetings. I've watched 2 years online. Every single meeting, I haven't missed one because my daughter needs medication at 7 p.m. So I really hope and pray that the new board, I know Mr. Enos and Ms. Marinelli are here, and Ms. Bridget get better, and Mr. Edwards also, that we can look to a new future where parents' voices will be respected and heard and not squashed.
Michelle Posey, followed by Carol Lerner.
Michelle Posey from District 3. The Gulf Coast Community Foundation is, they describe themselves as thriving philanthropy. Their website says because it matters. Yes, indeed, it does matter. It matters when you put your money and name behind a public event and then you gravely miss the steps of oversight and accountability to that event. You then become culpable. Let's be clear, adults in this community can do privately virtually anything as long as it's within the letter of the law. However, when you inconceivably place minors in harm's way or expose them to harmful materials, you knowingly sideline any argument you thought you had. The Gulf Coast Community Foundation partners with the Sarasota County School District for, among other things, an initiative teaching civics, civic participation, yet they failed with the basic oversight of following the law this past weekend. The Gulf Community Foundation sponsored the Venice Pride event this past weekend that advertised a kiddie corner where sex toys were used in a game setting. Sex toys that were displayed for all to see on taxpayer-funded property. The foundation sponsored this event that proceeded to expose young people and bystanders to lewd and lascivious acts done in public in clear violation of the law. You should note that every adult store operating in this state displaying those exact same toys demands every patron to be 18 and older and to show ID. The sex toy industry gets it, us parents and citizens get it, our growing community gets it, and yes, the Gulf Coast Community Foundation, it does matter. I'm calling for the removal of NGOs out of our school district. The incestuous relationship they've had with themselves and our school system should be over, since they've placed their money in the hands of people who exposed minors to harm and violated state statutes. These organizations can do great work in the community like every other organization and offer their services without allowing them within our schoolhouse doors. This means breaking up with all the ways they've pushed themselves into our education system and divorcing the marketing campaign that Jane and Shirley have sold out long ago from the dais. Again, do your good works in the community where the community can hold you accountable and stay out of our schools. Thank you.
Carol Lerner.
Carol Lerner. I am here tonight to honor two courageous women, Jane Goodwin and Shirley Brown, who have dedicated many years to ensuring that every child in Sarasota County receives a stellar education and that all children, teachers, and all parents' rights, not just some, are respected. To say that it has been challenging for them, especially these past 2.5 years, is an understatement. When our school board meetings exploded in August 2020 over false charges by a small, unrepresentative group that Sarasota schools and teachers were indoctrinating students in BLM and Marxism, Sarasota became a harbinger of what would sweep the nation. The following year, including once again in Sarasota, districts grappled over masks, CRT, SEL, LGBTQ vilification, book bans, you name it. Jane and Shirley were vilified and even threatened. The sad part is that most of what happened was not some spontaneous uprising. It was planned at the highest level by right-wing think tanks like the Heritage Foundation, by crazy gadflies like CRT schemer Christopher Rufo, and by our governor with his anti-woke, anti-LGBTQ campaign. Let's not forget the role that our own Bridget Ziegler and her husband played in stirring up dissension through the creation of Moms for Liberty and their Parents' Rights for Some legislation, all to win Republican votes and destroy public education. But throughout it all, Jane and Shirley kept their focus on improving Sarasota schools and supporting public education. What comes next for the district is the great unknown. The incoming board's far-right base has made it clear that they want the board to fire many in administration, including Dr. Asplin. That will set off a firestorm in our community. If you, the new board, really mean what you say, that you want to get rid of politics and unify the community, then please do just that. I know for Jane and Shirley, that would be their greatest parting gift.
Thank you. Lisa Shore?
Excuse me. My name is Lisa Shore. I'm a parent of a student in the district and one of the co-founders of Support Our Schools. I'm really concerned with the ongoing efforts to usurp my parental rights to decide what books my child can read in our media centers and classrooms. My child, my choice. Your children, your choice. If you don't want your child to read a particular book, let the media center know to flag that book so your child does not have access to the book. I often see citations to Florida obscenity statutes bantered about up here at the podium as a basis for banning books from our school media centers or as a reason to attack certain events by the LGBTQ community. What folks seem to fail to understand is that a simple reading of a statute does not form a basis alone for determining that a book or video or event is in fact obscene. In the Miller decision, the United States Supreme Court set out a three-pronged test to determine if a work is considered obscene. And all three prongs of that test must be satisfied for an obscenity finding. It might do well for the public to familiarize themselves with Miller before attempting to pass judgment on whether a book or a gay pride event is obscene. Pay particular attention to the third prong of the test, which uses a national reasonable person standard, not a local community standard. When the Florida legislature passed the Parental Rights for Some but Not for All law, there was a great hue and cry that this legislation was targeting our marginalized students, which it clearly was. The same is true for our proud governor's anti-woke legislation. If Florida is the place where woke goes to die, that would mean the majority, or red tide as I call them, are asleep, wouldn't it? I can assure you we are not asleep. While we woke citizens will not attempt to storm the Florida Capitol or to begin a big lie campaign, in the words of the great Welsh poet Dylan Thomas, we will not go gentle into that good night.
Robin Williams?
Good night. I'm Robin Williams, president of the Democratic Public Education Caucus of Minnesota. We're all indebted to Jane Goodwin and Shirley Brown for their fearless leadership in the face of threats by extremist Proud Boys demonstrating in front of Ms. Brown's home and repeated vicious personal attacks during school board meetings. As a retired educator, never in my 35 years as a teacher did I ever witness or hear of anything remotely resembling the level of vitriol and the intimidating environment that our elected board members, our public servants, have had to deal with in the past 2 years. Certainly, it wasn't part of the job description they thought they were signing up for when they ran for office. But they persevered, representing the best interests of our students, teachers, staff, and defending a quality public education. Our job will be harder without the presence of Ms. Brown and Ms. Goodwin on the board, but we're committed to supporting a quality public education without book bans, without whitewashing American history, without censoring Holocaust education, and without restricting science instruction because some people don't want to face the facts of climate change and are evolution deniers. We're committed to defending a broad liberal arts education and for standing up for the freedom of speech of our teachers, for defending their rights, and for raising their salaries. Thank you again, Shirley and Jane. I hope we can show your courage and perseverance in the face of such adversity.
Thank you. Stephen Kramer, followed by Paulina Testerman.
Hello, this is my first time speaking in public. It's because in this past year of being a substitute teacher, with my own eyes, I do not believe Sarasota County schools are not making a good faith effort to insist on appropriate behavior of the students. If you want a quality education for the students, the majority of them in the class are going to have to be behaved. I would hope that you are not proud of the fact that 40% of the students are testing below the proficiency levels in terms of what I read with those little Snapchat Google searches of the schools that I attend when I choose a front line, that, in terms of the reading and the mathematics, that 40% are below state proficiency. That is not something to be proud of. I realize that our county may be doing better than other counties. That does not mean we're doing well. I hear a lot about politics here tonight. Regardless of the politics, when my school day is over and I go out into the hallway and 4 full-time teachers are ranting and raving and pulling their hair out of their head because they can't take the absorption of the disrespect that too many students give them, that is not a cultural issue. So hopefully, if it's old board, new board, I'm not quite up on that, but hopefully we can start with a respectful level of the students. If classes are allowed to be divided between the best going to honors and AP, students who go out of their way every day to show that they refuse to appropriately behave, perhaps just like there's AP and honors classes, there can be a class for them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Paulina Testerman, followed by Eric Koch.
Good evening. My name is Paulina Testerman. I am one of the co-founders of Support Our Schools, a Sarasota nonprofit focused on protecting public education. 2 weeks ago, our organization was invited to Riverview High School to be recognized as supporters of the Discovery Academy. In case you don't know, the Discovery Academy is an amazing program that identifies high-risk students and creates an environment where they are followed closely, encouraged constantly, redirected when they struggle, and celebrated when they succeed. The program utilizes mentors and it embodies everything that is right in public education. But then I heard the program director explain to the audience that the program has challenges due to the endless parental consents that must be signed for these students to participate in all aspects of the program. Mind you, these are high school students who already have many hurdles in the way of their success, and now, due to the Parents' Rights Bill, they have yet another hurdle. I want to make sure that the board and the community recognizes that the Florida Parental Rights Bill that passed this year is infantilizing our children. Infantilizing means creating infants, as the laws are preventing children from growing. It is creating a generation of high school students who can be trusted with a car, trusted to join the military, and even trusted to vote. But they need their mommy and daddy's permission to view a movie that's PG-13 or read a book at school. How can we expect students to prosper, to grow, or excel if we can't trust them to decide for themselves if they can participate in all aspects of this program?
Some of these students may have challenging home environments that prevent parental engagement in their academic lives, and with the ushering in of the parental rights bill, the state of Florida and school board members like Mrs. Ziegler, who helps write the laws, are tying the hands of teachers and administrators and placing yet another hurdle in these students' way. The parental rights bill should have been renamed the infantilization bill or the helicopter parent bill, because we are going to raise a generation of children who fail to launch because they haven't been trusted to make decisions that impact their own lives. Thank you.
Eric Koch, followed by Tim Enos.
Good evening. I don't know if Ms. Ziegler's still on, but I basically don't have a whole lot to say tonight. I would like to ask that the board, the new board, address dress code policies at school. It seems that girls can't wear hats for some reason at Sarasota Middle School, but boys can, and it seems kind of sexist. The other thing I have is an issue with the search. From what I've reviewed, anytime a female is searched on school campus, whether it be her or her belongings, should be searched by another female. I have an issue at Sarasota Middle School. Mr. Carpenter searched my daughter's phone, my 12-year-old daughter's phone, without her permission, without my permission. 2 days later, he called my daughter and her best friend in and went through their bags. My older daughter, being new to womanhood, asked him to please not go through her bag, her private bag. He said, well, yeah, that's awful suspicious. Why don't you want me to go through your bag? And she said, that's my lady stuff. I don't want you to go through it. And he proceeded to go through it. Not only that, but nobody contacted me afterwards. I had to find out from my daughter the next day that this happened. I've gone to the school, asked for the principal or Mr. Carpenter to call me. They have not. I've called 3 times in the last 10 days and nobody's returned my calls. I would please wish that this get addressed. I will be making a formal complaint tomorrow as well. The last thing I would like to say, although Ms. Brown, Ms. Goodwin, rarely would we ever agree on very many things. I do believe that you've served our community. I do believe you've served our school board and you've served it loyally and you've done what you believe is best for the children. Though it may not be what I believe is best for the children, you've done what you believe is best, and I believe that to be a loyal thing, an honorable thing. And I wish nothing but the best for you both on the rest of your lives. Have a good night.
Tim Enos.
Excuse me. Mr. Superintendent, will you be following up with him?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Good afternoon. Good evening, Board. Dr. Aspelin and Board. I'm here, no politics in this thing. I came here to say thank you to Shirley, but I really came to say thank you to Jane. I've known Jane for a long, long, long time. We still talk about how going up in the stands at Riverview High School together and all the things. And you would come by my office and we would talk, on a variety of occasions. And that what most people don't realize is that when it came down to when I retired, is you were the one that took care of it and set it up. And I'll always be thankful for that, because I know that ultimately came from you. And I thank you for both of your service. I really, truly, truly wish you very much success and wellness. From getting into this, I didn't know what I was getting into. But at the end of the day I came tonight and I wanted to make sure I came here at the last one just like you came to mine. And I want to say thank you, Shirley, but thanks, Jane. I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Tim. That's nice. Appreciate it. That ends our general hearing of citizens. To all of you, a happy Thanksgiving and a happy night. We are adjourned.
I'd like to comment on that. Mr. Enos, thank you. And I see Ms. Marinelli back there too. This was a very contentious school board race, and I know that neither of you can be held personally responsible for a lot of the things that were said. And as I told Caroline, the race is over. We're going to work together. My door is open to you, and I hope that you reach out on anything, and I wish you both the best of luck.
I have to sign stuff.
Right. Otherwise, you'll have to come back.